Welcome to Frontier Behavioral Health's Real Recovery, Real Change. And now, here's your host, Ashley Carroll.
Hello, I'm Ashley Carroll. Welcome to Real Recovery, Real Change. Tonight we will meet Tyler Poe, who was homeless and addicted. Then Jimmie Ward, who just so happens to be his first cousin, with a story you won't believe. First, let's start with Tyler's story.
I was born in Martin, Kentucky, but I lived with my mom and dad up to the time I was about 6 or 7. You know, my mom and dad got divorced, and I lived with my dad, with my stepmom and my other little sister up until the time I was about 13 or 14. My grandparents, they lived like right next to me, and I would spend a lot of my time there. My dad, when he went home, he was at work. He was a coal miner. He worked like 5 days on, 5 days off, so I hardly ever seen him. I was pretty wild. I would sneak out like when I really didn't hang out with people. The only people I hung out with coming up in my teenage years was probably my cousin Jimmie. Me and him, we'd hang out a lot. I'd sneak out at night and come home late, and we'd go out on the town and cruise around or party or I remember I got appendicitis one time. I was in the 8th grade and had to be admitted to the hospital and had it taken out. And like while I was recovering, they brought me some pain medication in there. And when they would administer it, you know, I liked the way it made me feel, and it kind of activated my, I guess where I'm an addict. You know, I'm allergic to any kind of substance that makes you feel some kind of different for 5 seconds or longer. Like when I come home, they sent me home with a prescription for some medication that was highly addictive, and I didn't realize at the time that was going to really change my life, but I liked the way that it made me feel when I took it. And when I ran out, I kind of like had this empty feeling, had anxiety, and just there was something more. Like I thought there was more to life at the time because of the way that it made me feel. I had a little bit of social anxiety, and I noticed that when I would take it, I wouldn't, no worries. I'd had nothing to fear, or not worried about being around people or getting nervous or anything like that. It just, everything. I felt good mentally, emotionally, and physically.
I'm a mom just like you, and I have a son that's fallen into the grip of opioids. Do I see my son as a bad person, a criminal, a drug addict? No, I still see him as my son with a tough behavioral problem that can be treated. That's why I wanted you to know about Frontier Behavioral Health. They see your family the same way. They treat the behavior and send the person you always knew back to you. Call them at 606-297-1501. Real recovery, real change. Frontier Behavioral Health.
Real Recovery, Real Change continues with Ashley Carroll.
Tyler's addiction started as a teenager, and while he thought he was making choices, he soon found out it was the drugs that were in charge.
Went to high school. This is like the next year. I think I was like 14 or 15. I went to high school one day and just up and left. And left from school, and I called my mom. My mother, she lived in Johnson County at the time. I didn't tell nobody I was leaving. I just quit, just like walked out. I went and called her, and had her come and get me, and moved out of my dad's that day. Like moved to Johnson County and started at a different school. Just disrupted everything that my dad thought I had going on. You know, I just up and quit. When I moved in with my mother and started going to a different school, I met this girl, and I started talking to her, and we started dating on and off, you know. But her mother She got prescription pills like the kind that I like to take, and like I would go over at her house and hang out, and she would get some of them, and she would just, you know, give them to me hand over fist if I asked for them. And whenever we would run out or she would run out, like I would start like bumming money and manipulating in line, and you know, anything I could to try to get my fix. There wasn't nothing really I wouldn't do. I'd steal, or I'd tell somebody I was starving to death and have them give me some money, knowing that I wasn't going to buy food with it. And I craved it. It was like, I gotta have more, you know. I didn't realize what was going on at the time. I just knew that I liked it and I was going to get it no matter what. I upgraded from opioids and you know, smoking pot and stuff like that to using syringes and methamphetamine and heroin. For a day of that, oh gosh. That consists of if I go to sleep without it, the very next morning, as soon as my eyes open up, I'm going to be sick and I'm going to be craving, and I'm going to wander around for hours, bumming money, digging through garbage cans, waving people down, being stopped by the police, having people tell me to get out of their yard, just a whole list of things. It's basically a full-time job trying to get enough drugs to make you feel okay for the day up until the next morning. It's a whole process. If I didn't have it, I knew I wasn't going to feel good, and if I ain't going to feel good, I'm not going to have a good day. I'm not going to function right without it. I've got to have it to do anything that a regular person would do, you know, just daily routine things. But my daily routine wasn't normal. You know, they take me to treatment and tell me to stay, but a month goes by and I'd leave, or I'd find some excuse not to try to better myself, you know. I always fell back on those old feelings, and you know, life can't get no better than what I had, so why even try? The lowest point, I was injecting myself with methamphetamine at least 10, 12 times a day. I was homeless. I was sleeping under bridges. I was going through dumpsters at businesses looking for food or anything that I could salvage to take to the dope man to you know, get my fix. I stayed outside almost 24/7. Nobody, family, friends, had anything to do with me. Like all that, like desperation, loneliness, and misery. It all added up to the me realizing that I needed to do something about it, because if I don't, I'm going to die. I was at a apartment that was it was a straight dope house. Like I was couch surfing, so I was just there, and I got a message from somebody that worked at a treatment center and asked me if I wanted help, and I didn't want it, but mentally I didn't want it, but in my heart I knew I needed it, and I just made the decision to change, to come to treatment and do something about it. Like starved to death, lonely, and didn't know what I was going to do. You know, I felt like that was like my only chance.
I'm a mom just like you, and I have a son that's fallen into the grip of opioids. Do I see my son as a bad person, a criminal, a drug addict? No, I still see him as my son with a tough behavioral problem that can be treated. That's why I wanted you to know about Frontier Behavioral Health. They see your family the same way. They treat the behavior and send the person you always knew back to you. Call them at 606-297-1501. Real recovery, real change. Frontier Behavioral Health.
Real Recovery, Real Change continues with Ashley Carroll.
Homeless and hungry, Tyler decided to change his life. Will it work? Will it bring real recovery, real change?
The next day, wake up, you're greeted by the people that work there. They're getting you up, getting you ready for your meds, they're feeding you. Open arms, love, like something you're not used to. Like you feel out of place at times because people are so caring. It's just a totally different atmosphere. I felt like I knew something was going to change because of the way things were at the time. I seen how everybody else was happy and they were doing things with their life, whether it be going to school or trying to mentor or just better themselves in general by staying plugged in to the program or coming to church or doing things on the outside with like the restoration of their families and how happy they were. And I wanted a piece of that. Like I knew I deserved to be happy like they were. I just like to have my own house, my family, my children, and see them happy. Be able to do something for them to make them happy and see them smile. I think that's my main goal, and to be happy myself. I feel like my life today, I feel like I have purpose, meaning. My family, they've been restored. I go out to eat with them once a month. I help people at the treatment center, taking them and back and forth to places and doing things for them. I work there, so there's that. I'm steadily busy. I go to college. I'm gonna go for something in human services, be a drug counselor or something of that nature, give back. I would tell them not to give up. Like, there is hope, and as long as they're breathing, there is a chance for them to change their life. And it's only one decision away. It's just one choice.
Tyler has changed his life and is giving back. But while in treatment, his first cousin, Jimmie Ward, was brought into the same facility. Would Jimmie be able to find the help and change in his life? Here's his story.
We lived in Columbus, Ohio. My dad he started getting real sick around the time I was born. He had bad kidneys, and he had 2 open heart surgeries I think in 1993 and 94. My dad was in and out of the hospital a lot, so I spent a lot of time in a hospital with him because my mom had to work. He died whenever I was 12. It broke my heart because, it was my dad. I was with him all the time, and, I loved him very much. And the very next day after he passed away, I went over to my buddy's house, and he was like, his older brother was like, I could tell that you're hurting and feeling bad, so, they give me a little weed pipe to smoke and a couple 40-ounce King Cobras, and that's how it all started. And then, that went on for a couple years, just smoking weed and drinking and stuff, and I would try to function at school, and then one day I come home from school, and, my mom was hysterical crying, and I was didn't know why, and then I found out that my older sister had gotten into a car wreck and she was killed instantly. So at that point I didn't care about anything. I didn't want to be around people. I just rebelled. I was just in a blur. I didn't really know what to do. Only thing I know what to do is I just stayed high every day. And then I found cocaine. We started doing cocaine.
I'm a mom just like you, and I have a son that's fallen into the grip of opioids. Do I see my son as a bad person, a criminal, a drug addict? No, I still see him as my son with a tough behavioral problem that can be treated. That's why I wanted you to know about Frontier Behavioral Health. They see your family the same way. They treat the behavior and send the person you always knew back to you. Call them at 606-297-1501. Real recovery, real change. Frontier Behavioral Health.
Real Recovery, Real Change continues with Ashley Carroll.
Jimmie's life has had troubles and loss, and now as a full-blown addict, he's about to lose his freedom.
And I started getting in trouble in school and getting in a lot of fights and things like that. And then they charge you up there, they charge you with being an unruly child. So at first they sent me to a 30-day treatment center when I was 15. And I got out and I had to be in the drug court program. They have a drug court program for juveniles, so they put me in that. And I couldn't pass a drug test. I couldn't comply with any of their rules or regulations or anything like that. You know, my mom tried to, to be the best parent that she could, but, she was hurting herself. And I started getting my dad's Social Security check, and she would just let me have it. $1,400 every month. It was mine. I got to do whatever I wanted with it. And I would buy 8 balls of cocaine, and I would bring them back here to Eastern Kentucky, where because I would come back here every summer, because this is where my mom's family's from. And I would double, triple my money on it. So I started doing that a lot, running back and forth. I thought that I could be the world's best underage drug dealer. And, I went on like that for a long time. And then whenever I was 19, I had a friend who was on the run, and he had family up in Cleveland, so I took him to Cleveland. And on the way back, there was an accident that happened, and I ended up in jail. And I was in jail for a long time. I was in jail for 36 months. I wasn't no stranger to being locked up anyway, so I just got comfortable, and I just thought this was where I was going to be from then on. And then finally I found out I had to do 36 months. And while I was there, I actually met a girl, because we rode each other back and forth through the laundry and stuff like that. And I was a trustee, so I got to work around the halls. And actually, while I was serving my time was the first time I ever shot any kind of substances into my arm. When I was released from prison, I was a full-blown IV drug user. And not too long after that, the girl I'd been kind of talking to in there, she got out, and she was she was an addict herself, but she ended up getting pregnant, and I have my son, my first son, little Jimmie. He was, you would think, having a newborn baby would be enough to get you to stop using drugs, but it wasn't. So me and her ended up splitting up not long after he was born, and I ended up keeping him. I ended up with custody of him. And I got a job at a grass seed factory, and I worked every day. I'd get up real early at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be at work by 7, and I'd get off at 4:30, and my mom would keep my boy while I was at work. And I would stop on my way home, and I'd pick him up and take him home, and I took care of him as a little baby, just like, anybody would. I was still shooting up every day, and I was just trying to be what they call a functioning drug addict, but that never works out. I took Jimmie to my mom's one day, and I was supposed to be at work, and I called off as I go hang out with this girl, and I ended up going over to where she lived at, and on my way there I was so high that I ended up passing out behind the wheel of the car while it was stopped in the road. And I woke up, and there was a big line of traffic behind me, and there was people honking. So I took off, and I got to the end of the road, and they had a roadblock set up for me. And I had a big fight with the police, and it was just a real bad time, and I ended up back in jail again. That was when I got out the second time, that was when my addiction like really picked up. Like, that was how I started to support myself. I was just selling drugs, going to different trap houses and staying here and there. And then I started doing crystal meth, and I wasn't really ready for that. That was just a trip that I really wasn't ready for. At my worst, I can remember I took a girl over to Hazard, and she had all kinds of money on her. She had about $10,000 or $15,000 on her. And I ended up robbing her out of all that money and leaving her in Hazard. And I went straight to a car lot and bought a truck. And I went and bought a bunch of dope. And I went to this trap house over in West Prestonsburg. And I can remember standing there and doing a shot and being so stressed out, and I just passed out. I just fell, and I thought my heart was going to explode. And I just remember hearing a big thud, and that was me hitting the ground, and I woke up the next morning. I ended up taking myself into a treatment facility, and I stayed there for a whole year. I went through their program. I done an internship, and I was getting ready to get hired on there, and I just didn't like the way the things that were going on there, so I ended up leaving, and I relapsed again. And I remember that was my rock bottom that time, because I lost so much weight. I didn't hardly eat anything. I mean, I was just in real bad shape. And I remember I bought a car off somebody, and took one of my friends over to West Prestonsburg at like 3 o'clock in the morning to get some drugs, and we got pulled over on the way back, and they ended up letting him go, but I had 2 bench warrants, and I had an 8-ball of ice, and I tried to sneak it into the jail when I got there, and they caught me with it. And that was whenever they charged me with promoting contraband. And I sit there, and they ordered me to go to a different treatment facility, but my lawyer lost the order. So when I went back in front of the judge for my next court date, he was wondering why I was still in jail. I hadn't been sent to treatment, and he asked me if I wanted to do the SAT program, and I said no. And there was a woman that stood up in court, and she said, "I can probably get him into Frontier today." And about 3 hours later, I was pulling into Frontier Residential.
I'm a mom just like you, and I have a son that's fallen into the grip of opioids. Do I see my son as a bad person, a criminal, a drug addict? No, I still see him as my son with a tough behavioral problem that can be treated. That's why I wanted you to know about Frontier Behavioral Health. They see your family the same way. They treat the behavior and send the person you always knew back to you. Call them at 606-297-1501. Real recovery, real change. Frontier Behavioral Health.
Will Jimmie find the help and courage to overcome addiction? The conclusion is next.
Whenever I walked through the doors, Diana Adams was the first face I seen, and I've known her for many years. And at the time, she was the coordinator, and that gave me some kind of comfort just to see her and know that she was there. And then after my intake process, my cousin Tyler was actually in treatment there at the time too, so that gave me a little bit more comfort. And I was court ordered, and I was still kind of angry because I really didn't want to be there at the time. And I remember Diane talking to me, and she had to make a decision, to send me back to jail or not. And she said, come back here, somebody wants to talk to you. So she took me back and let me talk to the nurse. It was Nikki Seagraves. She's our operations director now. But at the time she was the nurse. And she was really mad and upset because I'd been doing what I've been doing. But at the end of it, before I walked out of there, she looked at me and she said, I believe in you, you can do this. If you just put everything you got into your recovery, you can do this. And you know, nobody's ever told me that before. After that day, I said, you know what, maybe she's right. If I put as much energy and effort into my recovery as I did my addiction, maybe I can actually get somewhere and do something with my life. So I started working the steps. And every day, whenever I had my free time, that's what I was doing, is I was doing my step work. I had my nose in my notebook. And that was one of the things that I'd always avoided, was working the 12 steps. And once I actually worked them and done them the right way, that was when I realized maybe I can do this. Like, if I do something, I'm gonna do it all or nothing. So if I put my mind to doing something, I'm gonna give it 100%. So, and that's with everything I do. That's with my recovery, with my job. Whenever I go to the gym lifting weights, I do everything 100%. My son goes to the gym with me every time I go, just about. And he's really strong and he really likes it. And my daughter is a cheerleader. She's just a really good girl. I'm just really happy with my life today. I got all kinds of people that love me and that look up to me, and I just try to lead by example. It's funny how God works, because you know, if I wasn't sent to Frontier, who knows where I'd be right now. And it just so happened that a mistake by my lawyer ended up being the best thing that could ever happen to me. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself, because if I can get clean and do this, anybody can.
Tonight, Tyler and Jimmie, two cousins, shared their stories. They were homeless, addicted, and without hope. But with the help of many prayers and treatment from Frontier Behavioral Health, both are now living good lives and giving back by working with and encouraging people to overcome their addiction. I'm Ashley Carroll. Thank you for watching Real Recovery, Real Change.
Thank you for watching Real Recovery, Real Change. This program has been a production of Frontier Behavioral Health. For immediate help, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, dial 606-297-1501. 606-297-1501.